Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking a journey into one of the most famous, challenging, and honestly profoundly beautiful poems of the 20th century. I'm going to be your tour guide through the vivid, complex, and frankly haunting landscape of Canto 3 of T.S. Eliot's absolute masterpiece, The Wasteland. Now, what's truly fascinating here, and you gotta keep this in mind, is that Eliot wrote this while recovering from a severe nervous breakdown, with a lot of heavy editing from his friend Ezra Pound. Keeping that raw, fragmented mental state in mind really helps explain the desolate world we're about to step into. By strictly focusing our lens on Canto 3, the fire sermon, the profound meaning behind all this fragmentation really starts to emerge. So let's just dive right in. Here's our map for this journey down the river. We're going to start with the polluted River Thames, meet Tiresias, the blind prophet, examine mechanical, modern love, hear the songs of the Thames daughters, and finally arrive at the fire sermon. Just before we get going, I want to quickly note that our entire textual journey today is drawn directly from the Poetry Foundation's publication of Eliot's work. We're going straight to the source, using the exact words Eliot penned so we can really grasp his vision of the modern world. All right, Section 1, the polluted River Thames. Our tour kicks off right on the banks of London's Great River, which, as you'll see, has undergone a deeply unsettling transformation. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. Now, Eliot actually borrows this line from a classic 16th century poem by Edmund Spenser. It evokes this grand, romantic, almost mythical vision of the river, right? But Eliot places this beautiful echo of the past right at the very start of our canto to set up a remarkably jarring contrast with the modern reality he's about to show us. It's like he wants us to have this gorgeous melody playing in our heads just before he completely shatters it. Just look at the juxtaposition here. In the mythic past, you had magical nymphs dwelling in a sweet Thames. But today, well, those nymphs have packed up and left. They've been replaced by empty bottles, sandwich papers, silk handkerchiefs, cardboard boxes, and cigarette ends. This is the modern reality. The magic is completely gone, literally replaced by the trash left behind by what Eliot calls the loitering heirs of city directors. The environment is entirely degraded, and as we're going to see, the souls of the people are degrading right alongside it. Section 2. Tiresias, the blind prophet. Because to navigate this unreal city, we are definitely going to need a guide. Eliot describes Tiresias exactly as blind, throbbing between two lives, old man with wrinkled female breasts. In Greek mythology, Tiresias was this fascinating prophet who was actually transformed from a man into a woman and back again, and he lived for multiple generations. So even though he's physically blind, he possesses this ultimate, undeniable inner sight. Eliot is using this ancient, mythic, gender-fluid figure as the ultimate lens for the modern chaos we're witnessing. Tiresias seized absolutely everything. Listen really closely to this claim. And I, Tiresias, have foresuffered all, enacted on this same divan or bed. The absolutely crucial word there is foresuffered. Tiresias hasn't just foreseen these modern events, he has literally suffered through them before. Because he's eternal, the fragmented, tragic events he watches in 1920s London, they aren't new, they aren't random. To Tiresias, they're just a timeless, exhausting repetition of human emptiness. He's basically watching history play out as an endless loop of spiritual decay. Moving on to Section 3, mechanical, modern love. Tiresias is observing this encounter between a tired typist and a young man carbuncular, basically a clerk. And the whole sequence reads less like a romance and more like a cold instruction manual. You know, food in tins, a bold stare, an indifferent assault, and then just putting a record on the gramophone. It is entirely mechanical. Think of the absolute most hollow, transactional modern encounters, kind of like the exhausting fatigue of endless dating apps today. Human intimacy has been totally stripped of its passion and reduced to the thoughtless routine function of, say, opening a tin can. The devastating punchline to this whole encounter is this singular thought. After the man leaves, the typist looks in the mirror, and her brain allows just one half-formed idea to pass. Well, now that's done, and I'm glad it's over. Ouch, right? This represents Eliot's profound critique of modern alienation. It is emotional death. The typist isn't angry, she isn't heartbroken, she's just completely apathetic. It's a really chilling realization of how numb the inhabitants of the wasteland have truly become. Section 4, Songs of the Thames Daughters. We're now moving rapidly out of that incredibly claustrophobic apartment and heading back out to the river to hear a chorus of disillusioned women Once again, Eliot relies on his signature visual contrast. In the past, the river hosted Queen Elizabeth I and Lord Leicester in a gilded boat. Picture it, surrounded by red and gold with beating oars and ringing bells, just a majestic, regal romance. But in the present, the chorus sings that the river sweats oil and tar with drifting logs and heavy barges. The physical pollution of the river is perfectly mirroring the polluted, degraded state of modern love and connection that these Thames daughters are experiencing right now. Highbury, Richmond, Kew, Moorgate, Margate Sands. By rattling off these specific locations, honestly, it sounds a lot like reciting the stops on a modern commuter train. Eliot is mapping out an epidemic of widespread despair. He isn't just telling one woman's story here. This spiritual barrenness, it's everywhere. It's woven into the very infrastructure of the city and its surrounding shores. Consider the absolute emotional flatline in these words. On Margate Sands, I can connect nothing with nothing. Just take that in for a second. This is the ultimate diagnosis of the modern citizens inhabiting this wasteland. It's a complete inability to find meaning, to form genuine relationships, or to make any sense of the modern world. They are surrounded by literally millions of people in London, yet they are totally isolated, just holding on to a handful of dust. Section 5. The Fire Sermon. The river's journey ends here, and we transition from the damp, polluted Thames straight into the fierce, fiery heat of Carthage. And this brings us to a really pivotal question. What exactly is the result of connecting nothing with nothing? When society loses its mythic resonance, when intimacy just becomes this mechanical routine, and when we are entirely disconnected from one another, what happens next? Well, Eliot gives us a devastating, repetitive answer. Burning, 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 burning. Delivered at the very end of the canto, this fire represents destructive, unfeeling lust. It actually draws directly upon the Buddha's real fire sermon, which teaches that all things are on fire with the fires of passion, illusion, and earthly attachment. The inhabitants of the wasteland aren't just numb. Their spiritual barrenness and base desires are actively consuming them. It's the ultimate, terrifying consequence of a disconnected society. And out of that consuming fire comes these final, heavily fragmented lines. O Lord, thou pluckest me out. O Lord, thou pluckest, burning. Notice how the grammar just breaks down into a desperate, almost whispered plea? Eliot is actually shifting from the Buddha to St. Augustine here. He's merging Eastern and Western traditions into a single, unified cry for spiritual rescue. It's a literal plea for divine intervention to pull the human soul out of the fires of modern existence. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. If our modern world is just a heap of broken images burning away, what is left to be plucked out of the fire? Eliot doesn't give us any easy answers in Canto 3, but he absolutely forces us to look unblinkingly at the ashes. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey down the Thames and into the fire. I highly encourage you to carry these insights forward and explore the rest of the wasteland for yourself. Until next time, keep seeking meaning in the fragments.